individually, we shouldn't be responsible for the image of a whole group. The fact that they are holding us to a certain standard tells you that we're so underrepresented. We're so underrepresented in this country that even just one person mess up.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Top 5s with Don Sill. I'm your host, Don Sill, and we got another great Top 5 in store for you today. It's the Top 5 Asian comedians. Asia's a pretty big continent. Chinese, Japanese, Filipino, Pakistani, Indian, even Russia. Joining me today is the hilarious Peng Dang. He's only been in America for 11 years and already rocking stages all across the country.
So the TSA had to do this, scan your ticket, check your ID, sir, pull off your mask. All right, you're good, next. When it comes to my turn, I had to show them my Chinese passport, and I was about to pull out my mask, and he goes, no, you keep it on. I trust you.
Also, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below. We want to hear your top 5 as well. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Me and Peng Dang with our top 5 Asian comedians. Peng Dang, how are you, my friend?
Hey. Doing well. How are you?
Good. This is really cool. Thanks again for joining us to do this top 5 of the best Asian comedians ever. And that's a pretty broad statement because there's been a lot of great Asian comedians, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, we have. If you say Asian comedian, we gotta include a lot of people, right? There's Indians, Pakistani.
Yep.
Chinese, Korean, Filipino, everyone.
Right on.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit Filipino too. I don't know if you could tell, but my grandmother was Filipino. Most other Filipinos could always say they could tell in my eyes, but the only people that ever could tell that I'm Filipino are other Filipinos. Otherwise, I'm just a white dude.
Yeah, you know what? Joe Coy doesn't seem very Asian looking to me.
A lot of people always ask me, why'd you wear that flag on your chest when you did the Tonight Show? Because I wanted other Filipino kids that wanted to be a comic be inspired when they saw me that night. If they saw me that night, they would be like, yo, I can do that too.
Right, yeah, and he's Filipino.
I'm also very bad at telling.
Right, yeah.
Unless you're East Asian,
right.
then I can tell, or South Asian.
Right. Now you are Chinese, right? And you've been in America for like 11, 12 years or so?
Yeah, 11 years. Yeah.
And
yeah,
what made you
from China?
Were you doing stand-up in China, or is that something you just started doing here?
Yeah, I was started here. Yeah.
I come from the land of the ice and snow. Real immigrants don't come from ice. We run from ice.
What made you decide to jump in and do stand-up comedy out here?
When I came to America, stand-up was like a new thing to me. I never knew it existed. And I think my roommate showed me George Carlin and Russell Peters. Immediately fell in love.
Wow.
And watched somebody named Joe Wong.
I heard that Asians have become the fastest growing immigrant group in America, which is really amazing because Mexicans can cross the river and come here. And I have to fly thousands of miles to Mexico.
He was pretty successful 10 years ago. He did the White House Correspondents', the C-SPAN dinner. He roasted Joe Biden.
I'm honored to meet Vice President Joe Biden here tonight. I actually read your autobiography, and today I see you. I think the book is much better.
And he has real thick accent. He has been on a lot of TV shows. He's been on Letterman, Ellen, you name it, all the late night shows. He was real successful, but he moved back to China. Yeah, he has real thick accent. I mean, thicker than my accent, but
Your accent, I can't believe you only been here 11 years. I mean, you speak really great English, very little bit of an accent.
oh, thank you. Yeah, I came here. Yeah, it's as good as it gets. It's not gonna get any better. Yeah, I've been here 11 years. Yeah, well, I watched Joe Wong, and he kind of inspired me. He kind of, opens the door for me. Makes me think, hey, it's actually possible for someone who's born and raised in China and come here, even though you don't speak perfect English, you can still make people laugh. There's still common grounds, for our sense of humor. There's people can understand our sense of humor. I think that was real inspiring for me, watching him. Yeah.
Daddy, this doesn't look yellow to me. I said yes and no, but this is America. And everybody has to have a color. And that's the color they gave us.
And is there a stand-up comedy scene in China or any of the Asian countries?
Yeah. I want to say in most Asian countries now. Before I left China in 2010. I don't think there was a stand-up comedy scene, but right now it's getting huge. It's really, really popular in China. Especially in those major cities, you can find clubs, you can find, places to do open mics. Stand-up comedians are big stars, big TV stars in China now.
How difficult do you think it is? Because you always hear with like through the years, you hear women comedians have a hard time getting accepted. You heard black comedians, but now I feel like, how difficult is it for Asian comedians to be accepted and to thrive and stand up?
I think for Asian male stand-up Asian male stand-up comics, it's still pretty hard. I think I've not that I'm amazing or anything, but I've applied stand-up comedy festivals and get rejected a bunch. And I look at the roster, the people they pick. There's usually no Asian male comics. There's very, very few. Yeah, so I think it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard. You look at all the dry bar specials. I can't recall any Asian male except for Indian man. Maybe I would say yes. I would say because of Russell Peters, it is easier. It's probably easier for South Asians, to get opportunities, but it's relatively hard for East Asian, especially male comics.
Right. I could see that, but I do see it starting to open up. I see more acceptance coming that way, and I'm seeing a lot of talented comedians, just like these ones that we're going to start talking about here in our top fives. So are you ready to go through your top 5 list with me?
Yeah, but before I get into the list, I just want to say, disclaimer, it's not top 5 is it's a list of 5 comedians that I personally like, but there's other Asian comedians that I like that I cannot I can't put them on the list because like I said, Joe Wong, for example, I love him, I work with him, but I never watch his special. He doesn't have a comedy album out that you can listen to. I'm only listing the ones that I watched, their special or have, an hour album, 45 to an hour album on Spotify or Apple Music.
Okay.
So yes, there are other comedians that are amazing, but I cannot put them on the list because they don't have,
Gotcha.
special available.
All right. Very cool. All right. Well, Peng, let's go with your number 5 pick. Who's your number 5?
I'm gonna go with Kumail Nanjiani.
Nice.
Yeah, so he is not. Well, I think most people know him from his movies, but he's actually a really, really good stand-up. He came up I think in Chicago. He came up in Chicago, a really good stand-up. Yeah, the album Beta Male, I really enjoyed it. I listened to it for I don't know how many times. The reason I like it, I like this album is because it is very, very personal. It's very honest. Some very smart jokes.
My accent is funny. Security, could you? My accent is funny. I'm from a certain part of the world. This isn't just a tan and a speech impediment. I'm walking the walk.
One of my favorite bits were the one about Elephant Man. He goes, my mom took me to, when he was a kid, they used to go to video stores and rent videos, and they rent the movie Elephant Man. He thought it was a superhero movie, like, yeah, Batman.
Devastating. I was 8. That movie took something from me. Like, I'm sure I lost the ability to smell rain during that movie. I turned to my mom and I was like, thank God movies are fake, huh? And she's like, actually, no, this one is real.
That was one of my favorite jokes. Also, his closer was, I think that was the closer. Let me check real quick. Kumail Nanjiani. The one about monkey happy birthday. He having a birthday party in Pakistan, and for entertainment, somebody brought a mongoose and a king cobra and let them fight in the ring.
The fact that you just accepted that is racist.
Yeah, he's definitely hilarious. Like you said, he's best known now for being in movies.
One burger with 4 slices.
Sorry, we can't do that.
Just put 4 slices of cheese on a burger.
We can't do that. There's no bus.
Who the fuck is this we, man? Who the fuck is this we? It's me and you. We're just people. Fucking listen to me. Fuck this corporate entity. Put 4 slices of cheese on the fucking burger.
He started in stand-up. What I like about him is he has a great stage presence too. When he comes out on stage, he already takes command of the audience, and you could already tell that he's coming from a smart place. He's a very smart comedy, well crafted, and like the jokes that you said too, is he's also bringing it back home. And I just think the guy's hilarious and a great stand-up comedian, and he's a great pick. All right, so my number 5 pick is a kind of legendary, really, in the world of stand-up, and groundbreaker too for what she did. She's a Korean comedian, and it is Margaret Cho. And with Margaret Cho, what I like about her, she's extremely funny and brave. Okay. And it's
well, did you watch his latest stand-up? That's what is it called, Psycho or something?
I watched a little bit of her stuff. Her newest stuff.
I actually enjoyed that album. I'm not real familiar with her work, but I actually enjoyed that special on Netflix.
I have to say though, whenever black and white people fight, Asians and Mexicans don't know what to do.
She touched a lot of subjects that are super, super heavy. Things about death, rape, a lot of heavy subjects, but she was brave.
Yeah, that's right. Like she'll tackle also she tackles gay rights.
So it's on the ship with 800 lesbians. We can't get off. So much drama. Were you looking at her or 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 her?
She goes against the grain on a lot of subjects that
Right.
and you know, and she's ahead of the curve on a lot of these things. And you know, her early career, she built it mainly, if you ever watch her early stuff, she does a lot of jokes with her mom, and she does like an impression of her mom and all that stuff.
Water! That's my mother calling me. Water!
Stuff. And that's what
I'm not really familiar with her work or her earlier stuff. I watched that one Netflix special.
Yeah, no, that's great. And yeah, because to me, she's like more than a comedian in a way. She's a comedian activist, and there's a few comedian activists that do it right, that do it successfully. Because sometimes if you're an activist, you could lose the crowd, you lose half of the crowd, you know. But in her case, I think she's able to expand on it and win the crowd over, even those who may not agree with some of the things she has to say. But I do think that she is a comedic activist where she critiques the social and political problems and head on.
It's really important to protest police brutality because it's not something that's just these incidents. You know, we are talking about many, many years of police brutality, going back to Amadou Diallo and Rodney King. So it's a lot.
And like you said, too, she's not afraid to confront darker issues like death and things like that and make them funny.
Yeah.
And that's not easy to do.
I don't like it when it gets racial. It gets racial sometimes.
Yes. She had one joke that I really like. The thing about the Boko Haram, how they abducted all those girls. She goes, I'm gonna put together a female team to go after them.
Asian women are beautiful. I think we have a lot of power. I do believe that. I feel like I might be a little bit past my sell-by date, but I still have. I think if there was an Asian woman army with big boobs, we could solve all the problems in the Middle East because we can make Jews do anything.
Yeah.
All right, Peng, we'll move on here. Who do you got for number 4?
Number 4, I'm gonna go with Ali Huang.
Nice.
I know most people say Ali Wong, but in her special, she actually said, you know, in her closer, Ali Wong, in her baby Cobra, she said, my name is Ali Huang. So it sounds more like Huang. And I looked up her Chinese name is Huang Ali, so it checks out. It actually pronounced Huang.
Nice. Ali Wong. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, she's a hilarious comedian. She toys with sexuality. She's done a couple specials pregnant.
Yes. I like the first one, Baby Cobra. I think that one is so good. The nice thing about it is that she represents her culture. She never shits on her own people. She always uplifts her own people.
For marriage, it can be nice to be with somebody of your own race. The advantage is that you get to go home and be racist together.
It's very common for Asian female comedian to shit on the Asian man. How they have small dick, whatever, blah blah blah. They want to date the white people, or they want to date, you know, black guys, white guys. They don't want to date Asian guys. You hear a lot of jokes from, you know, Asian female comedians, but I think it's really cool how Ali Wong came out supportive of Asian men.
Asian American men are very underrated. I don't know why people don't go for them. They're the sexiest. Asian men are the sexiest. They got no body hair from the neck down.
And that she has some really, really smart jokes.
Yeah. I think to your point, I think that does say a lot for her and her comedy to not go for the cheap laugh, because it's easy to get out there and do the stereotypes and make fun of the, you know, like you said, all the Asian stereotypes that men may have and get the cheap laugh. But instead, she's more creative than that, and she's able to, you know, find other ways to be funny and make jokes and not at the expense of her own people. So again, that goes a long way.
That's hilarious. I identify.
Because a lot of comics do that, no matter what race they are. They always go for the, you know, if you're Irish, you might, you know, an Irish female comic might make fun of Irish men for being drunk all the time or something.
How do you know if someone Irish is flirting with you or just being genuinely abusive towards you? And the answer is, you can't.
So you know, it's easy to do that and get the laugh. So I think to her, I commend her for that, for, you know, for not going down that road and finding a different pathway to be funny. And she's hilarious, man.
I don't care if his 25-year-old butt cheeks got all nervous and clenched up and closed on my face like elevator doors. I would get in there and just...
My standard for, you know, Asian comedian is if you're writing a joke if your joke sounds like it can't be written by any white guys, black guys, or not, then you're not writing a good joke, because they're laughing at you, not with you.
You guys think you can't tell us apart? We can't tell either, you know?
You're just saying things that other people are afraid to say because they don't want to look racist, but you said it and they're laughing at it. I don't think that's a good joke. I think that's laziness. We have so much to talk about. We can't just do the surface level stuff.
Exactly. Well said indeed. I completely agree. And I think too, like, you know, people know, you know, like people who really love stand-up comedy or know how jokes work, that they know when somebody took the cheap way out or what's really super clever or, you know, a brilliant joke versus a easy joke.
You have boyfriend, you have girlfriend, you have boyfriend, you have husband, you lesbian, you rug muncher, you have boyfriend, huh? You need waxing. You don't have husband because you need the waxing. Have you seen this shit?
All right, so now we'll move along to my number 4 pick. My number 4 is a comic who's been on the scene for a long time here in New York City and abroad. I think he started his career in Boston. He's a half Korean, half Irish guy, and it is Steve Byrne.
Steve Byrne, yes.
Yeah, Steve Byrne is a hilarious guy. He's risen through the ranks of comedy to become, you know, innovative and one of the most innovative and sought after performers. He's just, I mean, his stuff is so funny. He confronts a lot of the different topics in his stand-up, but when he goes at race, he goes at everybody, and it's really always well done and well written. And I don't know how much Steve Byrne material you've been able to see, but if you ever see him, he does Bruce Lee having sex, and it is the best physical comedy you'll ever see. He's like, the way he does everything, you have to see it to understand.
I didn't mean to punch him. I'm so sorry. I make him feel good. Ooh.
He's like older generation, but I heard he's a very good physical comedian. And who do you think is a better performer, him or Joe Coy?
That's close because they're both kind of from the same cloth in a way, right? But and they've both been around equally the same amount of time. But I love Joe Coy. He's funny. I just love when he gets the high pitched voice and he has just his style.
Yeah, he does a lot of voices. He's pretty much he's very much the Filipino Russell Peters.
Right. Yes.
He used to tour with Russell Peters a lot, so they're kind of similar. They're very similar.
Yeah, it's Steve Byrne. I would personally lean more towards Steve Byrne only because I've watched him develop through the years. I remember him from 15, 16 years ago when he was younger at the Comedy Cellar in Manhattan, and then just watching him climb the ranks up. And he had a TV show called Sullivan and Son, which aired for 3 seasons on the TBS network and stuff like that. He just keeps almost getting to the top of the mountain and then comes back down. So I'm hoping that he goes to the top of that mountain soon. I think he's got the goods.
Sorry. Don't. 2 seconds ago it's
and like you said, it was a good comparison to Joe Coy because I do think they are very similar, but Steve Byrne is my number 4 pick.
I would let my kids know I am Steve Byrne. I am Korean and Irish. I am a boxer brief size medium.
So we're already at number 3, Peng.
Nice. Moving along.
Yeah, who's your number 3 pick?
Number 3, I'm gonna go with Paul Varghese. Paul Varghese. Most people never heard of this name, but he's a local legend. He's a local legend. He's a Dallas comedian, and he's been doing it for 20 years. He used to tour with Russell Peters. I think back in 2005, even before Russell Peters was mad popular on YouTube. 2006, they used to tour together a lot.
This is a guy who I would consider the heir to my Indian crown. Please give it up for the very funny Mr. Paul Varghese.
I mean, even after he got famous, and he used to tour with Gabriel Iglesias and Gary Goldman. He's been on he's been on Comedy Central, Just for Laughs.
I'm from South India too. We're a little bit different over there. We make up names for our kids, but we give our pets regular names. It's way backwards. Like my uncle's like, these are my kids, Shibu and Libu, and our dog, Jessica.
He is, in my opinion, a better comedian than Russell Peters.
Wow.
Believe it or not. But listen to his album, Paul and Oates. Very, very well-written jokes. Very, very smart jokes.
Alphabetical. My last name is Varghese. How racist is that? Right? All the white kids with last names like Adams, Barnes, Baxters, Carpenters out the front door. Me and the kids Wong and Wang completely screwed.
I think he is. He does sometimes. He does, accent. He's Indian. His parents are Indian, so when he does his impression of his parents, he does Indian accent sometimes. But it's never, the Indian accent was never the punchline.
Like living in India, acting like he's in Cleveland, like, okay, thank you for calling Bank of America. My name is LeBron.
He writes so many good jokes. He never goes for the easiest route. That's what I love about this album. and it's consistent laughs. And he's got the thing I love about him is he's got so many different styles. He can tell a story. He can be a good observation. He can tell a good observational joke.
If you meet somebody through online dating and they look nothing like their picture, can you call tech support?
He has some really, really smart, racial jokes and political jokes.
It's a big deal that we won because 2 years ago we lost to a white kid. And honestly, I think white kids should win the spelling bee in America every single year. You should be able to win a competition featuring a language you invented.
He can do one-liner. He can do big act outs, different accents, different voices. And he's just so likable on stage. You have to watch him if you haven't. Check him out. He was on Russell Peters and Russell Peters Presents, that special where he brought Tom Segura back when Tom Segura still had hair. Yeah, you can see Tom Segura and Paul Verghese. They were very young at the time.
Yeah,
this is available on YouTube.
Excellent. Yeah, Paul Verghese is a very funny comedian. I did see that special you're talking about with Russell Peters. That's where I know him best from that special. He's a good guy, hilarious guy, and great pick for you, Peng.
I really wish I was white because you guys can be flash mobs. I was at an Outback Steakhouse, 30 white people ran in and nobody flinched.
My number 3, it is this guy has blown up. He's originally, I believe he is Korean as well, but he lived in North Carolina for a long time. He's a doctor, and it is Ken Jeong. It's Ken Jeong, right? I'm saying it right? Yes. Ken Jeong is a hilarious stand-up comedian. I remember the very first time I ever seen him live, and it was one of those things. It was like cliche. They announced him the way like people dread nowadays. It's like, hey, our next comedian is a very funny Asian young man. They had to say it that way. But he came out and he killed. And for what I like about Ken is that he has the likability factor. As soon as you look at him, you start smiling. You already like him. He's already wins you over before he even pulls the microphone out of the stand,
So I ended up quitting my job, and everyone supported me except my strict traditional Korean father. Oh, that severely bumped. He always wanted me to be a doctor ever since I was born, before I was born. So when I quit, he was mad. He was like, oh, you bring great shame to Jung family. And then after the hangover, we are so proud.
And then he starts going, and then when he's going, he's funny, he's fast-witted, he's a little self-depreciative sometimes, but he's just funny, and he's just a mile a minute, and he's a funny guy.
Asians, they talk about their kids. That's how they communicate. My uncle's like, oh, Daniel-san, he discovered a cure for cancer, And my dad's like, I have a daughter. She have full scholarship at Duke. Oh, what does a Kenny do?
But I feel like
he's a good entertainer. He can sing, he can dance. I'm sure he's amazing on stage.
All right, Peng. So now we are at number 2. We're almost there. We're almost at number 1. This is number 2. Who's your number 2 pick?
Shen Wang. Shen Wang. That's how he pronounced his name, Shen Wang. I think he's if you say it the right, if you say it in Mandarin, you'll be Shen Wang.
Shen Wang. But he says Shen Wang. Okay.
He says it's Shen Wang, so we'll go by Shen Wang.
Hey, everybody. My name is Shane Wang. Sometimes I tell people that, they're like, wow, that's a perfect name for stand-up comedy. Yeah, but before that, there was childhood.
He is Taiwanese American, first generation immigrant. His parents, he grew up in Houston, Texas, and he's done comedy in Houston for a long time. And he moved to New York, he moved to LA. He was, I believe, I could be wrong, he's some kind of writer for Fresh Off the Bowl, either for Fresh Off the Bowl or for Ali Wong, but he works with Ali Wong a lot.
If you're trying to screen people for cancer, it shouldn't be that hard. You know, like when we get checked, you know, they touch your balls, they put a finger in your butt, like, that's pretty chill. That's pretty chill. I believe most of us already did that for fun.
The reason I pick him, he is very, very unique in the Asian comedian, amongst Asian comedians, because this album, cornucopias are actually horrible containers. That's the name of the album. This album came out roughly 10 years ago. I think at the time, he was so much ahead of all the Asian comedians in this country. He was so much ahead of them. It's still a quality album if you listen to it now. He went very much the opposite of all the other Asian comedians at the time, because at the time there was a lot of Asian comedians doing mom and dad jokes, making fun of their immigrant parents, doing their accents, talk about stereotypes, but they're not, some of them are not very good.
Right.
And Shane Wang, this album, he actually spent very little time in talking about being Asian.
I did a test one time. I put Visine in one eye. Just one eye. I looked in the mirror, did a side-by-side comparison. Control group was red per usual. Test subject was white, but like way too white. Like between the two of them, this one was more suspicious.
But he spends a lot of time talk about his personal stories, how he was an alcoholic, how his life in New York.
Breakfast is fun. Breakfast is full of hope. It is. Breakfast is down for whatever because breakfast gets it. Breakfast knows there are others.
Yeah, I like Shang Wang as well. I watched some of his stuff. I didn't know that I knew him. So when I saw your list and I checked him out, and then I remembered him. I saw like he was on. I think he was on like, if I'm not mistaken, like Conan O'Brien and shows like that. I think he did.
Definitely.
Yeah, he did some of the late night stuff.
My parents are immigrants, and sometimes it's very hard for me to think about it. Like the whole idea of immigration sounds crazy. Like can you imagine leaving home right now? You just leave all your friends, all your family, you move to a completely foreign country just so your offspring can have more opportunities. And then your kid goes into stand-up comedy.
All right, so for my my number 2 pick, another Korean comedian who is he may be like in America one of the most famous ones on these lists so far, and this is Bobby Lee. So Bobby Lee is a comedian with like this endless supply of energy, and he just kind of unleashes it all on stage. And he's very unorthodox, unpredictable style. he'll take his clothes off and he'll give the audience members lap dances, and then but then he could also be insightful, and he could be deep also at times. He can get in some if you watch his podcast, sometimes he can get a little deep, and then he can also be extremely outrageous and silly. He's the kind of comedian where most people either love him or hate him.
I think the worst thing about being Asian American in this country is when people try to guess my nationality. I hate that! I'm Korean, I'll tell you, but don't guess. I was at a party once, this blonde walks up to me and she goes, "Oh my God, are you like Chinese?" "Are you like Chinese?" So I said, "No, are you like brunette?"
He's been around for a long time, from like Mad TV, and that was where he came like most famous from. But he's another one that I've read that people get upset with him for what he did on Mad TV by exploiting Asian stereotypes and things like that. So, what are your thoughts on Bobby Lee?
I think this was recently, and I didn't watch it, but I heard about it. The guy on Harold and Kumar, I think his name is something Cho, forgot. And then the guy on Walking Dead, the Korean guy. Both of them were on the same podcast somewhere, talking about how important Bobby Lee was to them. They're like watching Bobby Lee on Mad TV change their lives. It's the power of representation. It's the power of role model, and they watched it when they were young, and they thought maybe we can make it as actors. Maybe I can make it as a comedian. He's definitely done a lot of. He's one of the forerunners, trailblazers for Asian comedians, and he's real successful. So.
White people say racist shit accidentally, that's gonna stop. I had a photo shoot for this Harold and Kumar movie, right? Photographer is white. He kept saying, "Bobby, can we get more expression in your eyes?" I'm like, what the There's only two things I do, open and close. This is happy, sad, angry, all that shit.
All right, now it's time for your number one pick. Who do you got, Pong?
That is, of course, myself. No. Ronnie Chan. Ronnie Chan, oh my God, where do I start? He is our Kevin Hart. He is our Roy Wood Jr. He is our George Carlin. He is like definitely right now, nobody can touch him. He's best Asian comedian in America right now.
Or the biggest stereotype, or should I say the smallest stereotype? Asian people have small dicks. I didn't know that. I had nothing to compare it to.
He's also from Chinese descent as well, right? He's Chinese, I believe.
I believe he is Chinese Malaysian.
Okay.
He's probably born in Malaysia. He was probably born in either Singapore or Malaysia. Grew up in Malaysia, from a Chinese household, and moved to Australia. He started comedy in Australia.
Wow.
And he also he also went to law school in Australia. He was gonna become a lawyer, but he got real successful in Australia doing stand-up comedy. And then he moved to New York to pursue his comedy journey.
Yo, we don't shut down for Christmas, you understand? We work through public holidays. Any city in America, when it's 3 a.m. and you're hungry, where do you go? You go to Chinatown, that's where you go.
What I like about him too is again, stage presence. He's always sharp dressed. He always looks he looks like he's smarter than everybody in the room, and
Right.
he presents himself that way. And
he's so angry. He's so passionate. Whatever he talks about, he's so passionate about. That's what I love about him. Yeah.
Yeah, I love you know, how he basically confronts the stereotypes, and then put, you know, he confronts them all and then shoots them right back out at you.
Who the fuck measured enough dicks to get a large enough sample size to reduce your standard deviation down to an acceptable margin of error? That's what I want to know. All right?
And he just got such a way about him where I do see what you're saying when you compare him to Carlin, or when you compare him to some of these greats. I could see the Carlin in him because he does challenge the status quo.
We need an Asian president, man. I'm telling you. Yeah. Man or woman, get that Asian president in the White House. We will fix this shit in a week.
Well, he has it's a really good joke, but it's not on the special. It was from his Just for Laughs album, where he talks about, we're the majority of the Earth's population. Chinese people or Asian people are the majority of the Earth's population.
I got news for you guys. There's more of me and my kind of race than any other race on the planet. Okay, you know what that means? That means we are the majority. We dictate what is normal behavior. So all that shit, bad driving, small dicks, good at math, even if that was true, guess what? That'll be normal, right?
I like his political humor. I like his social commentary. I like that he talks about Black and Asian, communities, Black and Asian relationships, relationships between minorities, and the way he is. The thing about him, he's Malaysian, but he represents Chinese culture hard.
Imagine harnessing the power of Asian people in government. Oh my God.
I actually met him once, early on. I met him years ago. I just went there to watch him, and I talked to him for a little bit. I had some questions, and I go, I'm from China, and I have this accent, and people used to tell me, hey, you can't just talk about being Chinese. Why don't you talk about being a human? I'm like, Chinese are human too. Like you,
exactly.
Right? They look at you that way. I'm like, because I was confused. Like, am I being too Asian? I'm not. Am I? Is that a problem, or should I? I don't know. Should I change? Should I write about dogs and skateboards? I don't know. Like, what are you talking? But I asked him that question. He goes, "Hey, you can fuck other people. You can be as Chinese as you want to."
It's the money and the prestige. Because if you're a first-generation immigrant, your children becoming doctors is the quickest way. You can turn it around in one generation. Instant credibility, instant respectability, instant money. Right, you flip the clan narrative around, boom. Start from the bottom, now we're here, we doctors.
Great number one pick. Ronnie Chin, hilarious, great comedian, great pick. My number one, I went with, this is a Japanese comedian. He is a legend. A lot of people don't even realize that he started his career as a comedian, and this is Pat Morita. Pat Morita, better known as Mr. Miyagi for the Karate Kid. He began his career as a stand-up comedian in like the 60s and 70s. He was mentored by Red Fox. So Red Fox took him under his wing, and he was even his first manager when he was a comedian was Sally Marr, who is Sally Mart is Lenny Bruce's mother. So the great Lenny Bruce, his mom was basically Pat Morita's manager. He went on and he was doing the late night comedy clubs of the time. There really weren't clubs. They were more like nightclubs. So he got brought in on the Playboy Club circuit with Hugh Hefner and all those guys. And at that time, all those comedians were like the Lenny Bruces, the Red Fox. I think, all those comedians, those kind of jazzy kind of comics that were really pushing the edge, were all on that Playboy Club circuit back then in the 60s.
Oh, and I saw a Japanese war movie that kind of showed them winning for a change. You know, it was a satirical thing. It was like their pilots got to wear the white scarves for a dig? And like they had the straight teeth and the snappy uniform.
Pat Morita, again, he went with some of the cliches, but he also broke ground. He broke ground not only for Japanese, but I think for all Asians, and really showed people that this can be done. And I think he was a trailblazer, and and that's why I made Pat Morita my number one pick.
And I'll never forget the first time I met her. I went up to her. I said, "Do you drink?" She said, "Hi." I said, "Would you like a little nip?"
Wow, I need to check him out. I never heard his stand-up. I know who he is. I never heard his stand-up.
And I would get like a lot of nutty questions, you know, like, why you not speak Japanese? And I would make up one excuse after another, you know. Tell them I'm an Irish Italian suffering from jaundice.
You have seen The Karate Kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about Mr. Miyagi as a kid?
I watched it when I was so young. I don't remember anything about it. I just thought that was a really cool character. He looked cool on camera.
Right. He was awesome. Very cool. So now we have all 10 of our picks. Now the hard part comes, Peng. We have to now break this down into 5. So I'll read them all off again, and then we'll start seeing. Then we're going to start taking people off the list and build our final 5 together. Okay?
Oh, okay.
So we got again. I'm going to mess these names up. Kumail Nanjiani.
Yes.
Margaret Cho, Ali Wong, Steve Byrne, Paul Varghese, Ken Jeong, Shang Wang, Bobby Lee, Ronnie Chin, and Pat Morita.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is, who do you think? We'll start this way. I think for sure we have to keep Ronnie Chin stays in. I think Ronnie Chin is phenomenal. He stays on the list. We're keeping him, right? So, this is tough.
Well, before you do that, let's just talk about what is our standard? What are we going for? We going for the funniest comic? Are we picking the funniest comic, or are we picking the most successful comic?
I think it's a mix for me. It's not always about success for me. For me, it's about and especially in this case, what they meant to the community too. Like a guy like Ronnie Chin, or even if you look at like Pat Morita, what those guys meant to the community and how they helped blaze the trail, right? And open up for other Asian comedians down the road. And then I look at the funny, but success I would say is the third reason why I would pick them.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, because that's why I'm thinking. For me, like right now, I love him, Steve Byrne, but I think he's. I would take him off of the list.
Yeah.
Just because when you look at the other people on this list, I think that they, not that Steve Byrne doesn't matter. He's on my top 5 for a reason, but I just feel the others way heavier and that they should stick around. So Steve Byrne would be the first one I remove. Okay, so now, so we added Ronnie Chin to the final, and we removed Steve Byrne. So what do you think, Peng? Who should we take out next?
I don't know. It's really hard to say. I'll let you decide. I'll let you decide.
This gets tough. This gets tough because to me too. Again, this is
Sean Wang doesn't, because he's not very active, these days.
Which one was that?
Sean Wang.
Oh, Shang Wang.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll remove Shang Wang.
Yeah, he's more. I think he's doing more writing. Although Fresh Off the Bow is a great show. If he was a writer, Fresh Off the Bow,
right,
then he is doing something for the Asian community.
So who else on your list do you absolutely want to keep? So we got Ronnie Chin, you have Paul Varghese, you have Ali Wong, and Kumail Nanjiani.
If we're going by jokes, if we're going just by jokes, I love Paul Varghese and Shen Wang. They're like some of the best, joke writers that I ever know. But if we're going by your standard, Shen Wang is not.
So
he's not the the trailblazer, or he's not, real influential.
It gets
even
tough
in our own community. It's yeah.
So okay, so we'll keep Paul Varghese.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we got Paul Varghese, Ronnie Chin, and then I think because of what you said about Bobby Lee, I think Bobby Lee should stay on the list too.
Yeah, for sure.
So now we have 3 that are staying. And then so to me, I think too, I love Kumail Nanjiani.
Yeah.
But I still think, I don't know. So if you got Kumail, Margaret Cho, Ken Jeong, I don't know who to keep out of that, because I also think, again, you tell me, should we keep Pat Morita? I think Pat Morita blazed a lot of the trail. So I'm wondering if Pat Morita, and he's funny. When you watch his stand-up, you'll see that he's funny too. But what do you think? Because
if we're going by your standard, then he's definitely staying. If he's one of the OGs.
Yeah. So then okay. So right now we have four guys that have made it in. Okay.
Right.
And that is Paul Varghese.
I think it's either Ali Wong. The last person is either Ali Wong or Margaret Cho.
Let's go Ali Wong, because she was your pick, and I also think I love Margaret Cho too. All these people in the top 10 are there for a reason. We love them all, but we have to make this a 5. I think Ali Wong is funnier if we add the funny to this list, because we could agree they're both equally important, and all that, and they both equally blaze trails. But I think when it comes to who's funnier, I really think, and Ali Wong also, to your point too, Ali Wong doesn't lean into stereotypes, where if you look at Margaret Cho, her whole routine is her mom and stereotypes. So we could take it from this. So Ali Wong, this is great. So now, here's our 5. And then you tell me who you want as number one. That will be all you, Peng, to pick that. Right now, we have our top 5 is Ali Wong, Paul Varghese, Ronnie Chin, Bobby Lee, and Pat Morita. I'm thinking Ronnie Chin should be number 1.
Yeah, I mean, we already have top 5.
We got our top 5. You're absolutely right. It doesn't matter the order, right? These are all 5 great comedians. Pat Morita, Ronnie Chin, Bobby Lee, Paul Varghese, and Ali Wong. What a great top 5 we got, Peng.
Yeah, and I'm learning something too today. Some of the comedians you mentioned, I never even got to watch them.
This is
but
great.
I'm also very new at stand-up. I'm very. I only knew about stand-up when I was 25. I started listening to stand-up. I didn't grow up, listening to stand-up.
Right.
So a lot of comics I don't know naturally.
This was great. This was terrific. I really enjoyed talking to you and going through all these great comedians. Tell everybody really quick where they could see you and find you online, or like Instagram and stuff like that, and where they could follow you.
Yes, it's Peng Dang Comedy, PENGDANG Comedy at everything. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It's the same handle for everything.
Excellent. Well, Peng Dang, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, my friend. This is great. Hopefully you come into the New York area soon, and we can catch you here at our local clubs, at Governor's Comedy Club here on Long Island.
Oh wow! I didn't know you were in New York.
Yeah, Long Island. Yeah.
Yes. I'll definitely hit you up when I'm in the area.
Yes, indeed. Thanks again, everybody. Peng Dang, and we got a great top 5 out of this. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. That's the top 5 Asian comedians that me and Peng Dang came up with. Pretty cool list. Please, again, leave your comments below. We want to hear what your top 5 is. And as always, we'll see you again next time.